Alright, welcome back to part 3. This is the final part of the economics series, if you will. This doesn't mean I'm not going to do economic stuff in the future, because I love covering this stuff. I think it's cool to kind of explore and see what other people are doing. I know in some of my previous videos I've done like essences, I think, or blight, and it's kind of cool to see what people do with their strategies, and also too to watch them like try it out, and then be like, hey, like I tried this out for a couple hours, they'll comment, say like, and I made a lot of money off this, and that's really exciting, right? So very, very important to share this. And speaking of sharing, let's get into it. So now we're in the end game. We are essentially cooking and booking. We have our build set up. We're smashing T16s. What to do now, right? We're selling our flasks. Scroll down to our empty tabs. We are selling out our flasks that would be here, our cluster jewels that would be here, right? Gems. And again, if you have more stash space, that's fine. If you're selling things like other jewelry, whatever, you price those up. You can still incorporate some stuff from the first video if you'd like. Be my guest. World's your oyster. Maybe that's something you can do with like rod crafting as well. You get some really nice items, you put them up for more your manly pricing stuff, whatever that needs to be, right? But okay, we're in the end game. How do we start getting the big money? Well, number of ways to go about this, right? In step one, we have to talk about, and I kind of touched on this a little bit in the last video, is your strategy. Make sure at this point, okay, is that you need to put the time and the effort to understand your strategy and think about what you're doing. So an example is like for essences, let's say you're spec'd into essences. Are you taking the time to corrupt your essences, okay? Are you hitting it every single time on the map device, right? Like if there's a pay for it, right? So if I go to my map device and let's say it has essence, am I clicking that every single time? Am I being conscious about that? Super duper important to be doing that, right? And this goes for any strategy, like what's the rate of it spawning, right? Like how much am I making per map? Because let's say you're going, okay, I'm gonna farm harvest, right? And I'm gonna shoot out a ton of light force, right? Awesome. But let's say it's on the map device, right? Like in this season it is, but let's say it's not. Okay, then I gotta make sure my Atlas points are spec'd out, so I'm getting a lot of harvest. And then when I go to do the harvest, how else can I make this better? Oh, maybe I'll run growing hordes to increase the pack size of the harvest. Maybe that's a good idea, right? Oh, maybe I need to run Eater of Worlds to increase the quantum rarity, right? Or maybe not, right? Maybe you're like, okay, no, actually, I do all the harvest stuff and then I shoot over to Exarch because I'm doing the Exarch altars and I'm trying to farm a lot of Awakened Sextants, etc. Basically making the most amount of your maps in regards to the content you want to do. Okay, that's the most important thing at the end of the day. It needs to be something you want to do, that you're not necessarily, I say proficient, but proficient in terms of like, you want to spend the time to get better at it. Okay, it's okay if you start out obviously bad at something because, the point is to practice it and get better and learn. So pick something again that you want to become proficient at. That's the best way to say it, and work on that. Get it to a really, really optimized point for yourself. Okay, that's very, very important to do. So that way, that is a big chunk of money essentially that you're constantly pulling in. That's very, very important to do. Now, we need to supplement this, because if we're just doing that, yes, we're making a good amount of money. Think of this again. Let's say we're just farming essences. Okay, cool. We're making a good amount of money from that. But we need these other tabs. Again, assuming we have our standard tabs, these are holding our essences or whatever, right? We need these premium tabs to be making constant money, because we're not just selling essences all the time necessarily, right? Might be bulk selling them. So with these empty tabs, what do we sell here? This is up to you. Okay, but we're going to extend kind of essentially from the flasks, the gems, all that stuff, right? Which is great. And we're going to send that into the big boy items. What are the big boy items? If you're looking to make big boy items, there's tons of stuff on YouTube. There's tons of, crafting guides, tutorials, etc., right? But basically get a little bit more to the crafting scene and think about what items you want to produce, because those are going to be very, very important. Some people do that with ROG, for instance, right? Some people do that with Harvest, meaning that they're going to go, okay, I'm going to make some crit chest pieces, right? And then I'm going to awaken or orb that with, an aura chest piece, and then that's going to be a crit aura chest piece, etc., right? And if these words don't make sense to you, granted I'm stumbling a bit here, but if you don't get the general idea of this, look up things like awaken or orb crafting. Look up things like elevating items, which is kind of the next step if you really want to get big into it, because that stuff's really important. There's especially a lot of deterministic crafts that you can do as well that can earn you money. And what you're looking for essentially is to fill your tabs with those. So it's going to become a lot less like crowded in here, right? Like you're not necessarily going to be filling all these up with like, multi-divine items necessarily, right? But, one or two, maybe one of these tabs is, filled with, like each item is multiple divines, right? That you you have up for sale. And essentially you're classing up, and yeah, the sales may come, quote, longer, but your overall margin is going to be higher and the overall money you're going to be making is higher. So definitely look into that stuff. What is an example of this? Well, let's say, well, I don't know, you want to make, who knows, like elusive boots or something like that. Elusive boots are essentially redeemer boots. See if I can actually find, you know, I might have some random like redeemer boots just like laying around in my stash. Hopefully I do, but you never know with these things. Let's see here. Looks like no redeemer boots. That's awesome. Well, let's just say if you want to make some redeemer boots, but for reference, actually to show this again, just in case if you're wondering, redeemer boots, what are you talking about? Basically, it has this kind of like white and black symbol kind of thing going on, like in the top left and the top right, and it's kind of got this freeze effect coming down it, and that'll be for any item similar, like this item's on fire. You're looking for this chill effect kind of that's going on, all right? That means it can roll redeemer mods. Well, if you get it on a pair of boots, right, such as these or something like that, these don't have redeemer mods on it, but like just, you know, pair of boots, then you can come over to a crafting station, and if you reforge that thing with critical strike modifiers, you will always get elusive, right? And that is a potentially sought after mod for people. So you go, oh, well, gee, maybe if I just like grab a pair of redeemer boots and I get elusive on it and then just resell it, you know, because maybe you're farming harvest, right? And then you just resell it for a little bit more. Hey, that's some potential profit I just made right there. And that's the ideal of essentially a bigger item. And obviously you can go a step further and go, okay, I'm gonna Awakener Orb that, right? Which for an Awakener Orb, I'm gonna go, okay, I'm gonna smash this together with another item. I'm gonna smash this together with like Tailwind or something like that. I'm gonna go, okay, now I've got a Hunter item and a Redeemer item. I'm gonna slam those two together. Now I've got an Awakened item. What can I do from there? Can I do something from there, right? These are all just examples of things you can do. This goes for your weapons, your quivers. You can do crafting kit for helmets and chests. Go down the line. Anything really, right? Jewels, as in like gems in your tree, you know? Do I have any gems in my tree? Surely I do. There we go. Some, you know, just different things that you can craft around is really, really important. And that's essentially your big supplemental income, okay? That way, when you have those two revenue streams, you are good to go because you have crafting stuff, which is, you know, again, probably just a tab, okay? One of these empty tabs, which is like big multi-divine items. Maybe some mid-tier, like tons of flasks in here, some gems, something like that. And then maybe you have like some really nice rares or something like that isn't quite as like as expensive, right, as the stuff that's been like Awakener Orb or things like that, but it's, you know, it's still sitting in here doing its thing. Okay, and these are just with these 3 tabs alone, where you can generally kind of break up the items you're selling, and then again using your standard tabs for whatever, you know, your strategy you're farming. So that is the big thing. By doing this, okay, I have found at least is what it gives the most amount of motivation in terms of wanting to grind, because it's like, okay, I need to grind my stuff. You know, whatever that may be, you know, let's beasts, like for example, I'm going to be selling those off. Cool. I've also got this crafting thing in the background that's going on. I've also got this flask thing that's going on in the background. I've also got this cluster thing going in the background, and I've got all this stuff going. And what'll happen is all of a sudden you're building up all these different systems of income, and then that way you're going to look at your stash one day and go, wait a minute, like I'm just like making a decent amount of money. Like an example again, thank you for this guy showing up at a solid time. For doing the gem stuff, for selling something for like 20 chaos, right? Because that just shows that like, hey, if I do this like multiple times, right, throughout the course of a league, and in this case, throughout the course of a league, it's going to be a lot, right? This is going to happen probably, geez, sold at least 100 something gems. Let's say you sell 100 something gems for 20 chaos each. It's like 2,000 chaos, right? How many divines is that? Well, say divines go for 200, right? I know they're a little lower now, but let's just say 200. Then that's like 10 divines. So I've sold 10 divines worth of gems. Like that's insane, right? So you need to think about that stuff, because that's going to become really, really important as you're trying to make your economic journey into the, you know, the big numbers, right? Where you're trying to get those huge builds. It's going now, as I kind of finish off here, this is my kind of sum up, but also warning to all this, right? So my sum up is that following this general progression is definitely something I would do. Videos 1, 2, and 3 should hopefully explain that decently well, and then use other content on video to supplement that. If you're confused, like what is he talking about with Awakener Orbs or blah blah blah, there's specific stuff on that out there, but this is just kind of giving you a table of contents like, hey, do this, do this, do this. This should generally be fine. And now about my warning. Generally, this is going to feel pretty uncomfortable, What do I mean by uncomfortable? It's going to be weird for you to like fill up your stash tab worth of, you know, like probably with stuff, you know, to price things out, etc., to set a whole tab to a certain price, etc., right? But that's okay. The point is that you need to try it, because if you don't take the time to try it, which a lot of people do, then you never get things sold or don't even know that things are valuable or not. So put your stuff up there and just do it. And that way you're going to learn. Okay. My other warning essentially is that, hey, you know, this is your first time doing this. So even though you're looking at this and going, oh boy, I'm just going to set this up and I'm going to get, you know, follow the progression. And then I'm going to get to this point and I'm going to be pulling like 50 divines per hour. Surely. I can tell you that's not going to be the case. You're definitely going to have some struggle where you're like, man, I just crafted some Redeemer elusive boots and these haven't sold in a couple days. I don't know what's going on, you know, and then you figure out, oh, it's on the wrong base, or whether, oh, the base even matters, or blah, blah, blah. But the point is that you're trying, okay? If you put, you got to stumble around and fall, because this is taking me leagues and leagues and leagues and leagues to learn, okay? And I'm still learning as well, right? And I've been playing this game again for years, and even now, right? It's like, okay, you know, I, you know, made a mirror in Crucible and I posted a video about that, right? There are people obviously who makes tens of mirrors in Crucibles, probably even like 100 mirrors, right? But that's okay, you know, and I'm not concerned about that. I'm just pleased with my performance, you know, in terms of like I've met my goals, etc., and that should be the same for yourself. So if you walk out of this strategy, essentially these 3 videos, like you're maybe starting for the first time next league, or you are, you know, returning player, whatever, or you're just looking to improve your, you know, income, etc. on POE, you go, okay, you know, I made 20 divines last league. Let's try to make 30 divines this league, or 40 divines, right? And you hit that goal, that's huge. Keep moving that up over time. That's exactly what I did. You know, it's hard to jump from, you know, making a couple divines league to a mirror, but what's important is you put the time in, you will see general, like, you know, results and progress. I can promise that though, for sure. So just keep at it. You know, use some other supplemental content. Otherwise, these 3 videos are the key. That's the stuff I've learned. Hopefully that skips years of learning for everyone else, and condenses that down to hopefully, you know, a league or 2. So yeah, that's all I've got to say for these 3 videos. Definitely going to make some stuff in the future for economic stuff, but that is the general gist. I'll be trying to do the best I can to answer questions. Just go ahead and fire them off if you need to. I'm usually, you know, even on month-old videos or whatever, I'll respond because I get little notifications, so go for it. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Best of luck on League Start and such, and I'll probably post another video or 2 before then. We'll kind of see what happens. Thanks for watching. Bye.